Welcome to Edwards Virginia Smokehouse Cured Meat Q&A. Why is sodium nitrate used for dry curing meat?
Sodium nitrate and nitrite has been used in curing meat for thousands of years. I'm not sure people actually understood it in the beginning, why some salt mines produce better cured meat than others, but it's a way of preserving meat so it's safe to eat. It fights the harmful bacteria that can form when curing a ham or salami or other kind of cured meats. We apply an exact amount to each piece of ham along with the salt. It's a very minimal amount. It's like 3.5 ounces, well, not even 3.5 ounces, 3.25 ounces per hundredweight per 100 pounds of ham. The benefit, mainly the benefit, especially with sodium nitrate in my mind, is it prevents botulism, which can be a real problem if you don't know how to cure your hams correctly, and applying this sodium nitrate prevents that from happening. It's an antimicrobial. Years ago, I don't think people understood it and why, because it's found typically, strains of it's found in salt mines, and they knew certain salt mines produced a better cured meat, better flavor, didn't spoil. Eventually, science figured all that out. But just to clarify, in a person's typical diet, 80% of the nitrate or nitrite comes from the vegetables that you eat, like spinach and radishes and lettuce, things like that. And another 13% comes from the swallowed saliva, your body's own immune system protecting your body from eating foods that are bacteria, or you're breathing or tasting or drinking things that maybe have a high bacteria count. There were some studies done back in 1970s where they fed rats this huge amount of sodium nitrate and nitrites, which was like the equivalent of eating 3,000 pounds of hot dogs a week. So that skewed the test, and everybody all of a sudden got freaked out about nitrates and nitrites. Scientists now understand that these massive doses weren't really an effective test. Unfortunately, the media hasn't really focused on the correction, and that bad information is still floating around out there. But just to give you an example, there was some even more new research done about the level of regulations that the USDA has applied, like controlling the amount of sodium nitrate. He said nitrite. This is a doctor or a professor from Texas Medical School at Houston, says nitrite preservatives have been found to be safe. He's a professor of integrated biology and pharmacology at the University of Texas Medical School. It's a complete change to the paradigm from which people thought in the 1970s and 80s. There's no difference between the nitrite that you get from cured and processed meats versus the ones you get from vegetables. It's the same molecule. So, and this guy doesn't get any money from the meat industry. He's just a scientist. And there's others out there, if you search online, that agree with his take on what sodium nitrates and nitrites do. So there is a benefit. It prevents you from getting food poisoning, and it's not harmful because it's typically found in your body naturally.
If you could briefly talk about the difference between sodium nitrate and nitrite, because you're using those words interchangeably.
Yeah, well, I don't know the chemical makeup. In other words, there's your element chart. You look at that nitrate and nitrite. But nitrate we use on ham for us on dry curing, because nitrate is a slow release as it chemically changes during the curing process from nitrate to nitrite. So you're through that approximately 30 days in salt, the nitrate is slowly converting to nitrite. Instead of, if we put nitrite on the ham right away, that does its thing right away and quits. So it's like a slow release version of nitrite is what nitrate is. Now, another important factor in curing meats, especially the long-aged hams, a year old a year plus 18 months old, like in the Suriano hams, the testing that we've done, there's no residual nitrite or nitrate in the ham. It dissipates during the curing process. So in effect, you're not even incurring any of those chemicals when you eat it. So unfortunately for us, the USDA still makes you put that on the label, even though there's none left in the ham to begin with. And it still keeps that negative connotation or that negative concept of the ingredient that people are misunderstand. It makes it difficult for people to understand, and we're trying to educate about it.
Yeah, and as Sam said, I mean, it's basically salt with one extra molecule. Been coming out of Mother Earth for millions of years. Perfectly safe when used in the right combination of time and experience, and especially in our craft. And yeah, I think that's one of the big misnomers out there when they were doing those studies back in the 70s, eating 3,000 pounds of a hot dog. When you look at your further processed meats, when you look at hot dogs, when you look at bolognas, when you look at those fine grind meats, they have to use a heavier dose of antimicrobials just to keep it safe. Yeah, we do get some benefit from the color addition out of it. But, when it comes to curing hams for the minimal amount that we use, you'll get more nitrates out of eating a spinach salad or a stalk of celery than you would eating our hams. And that's really where, it gets frustrating from our end when you look out on the market and you see, especially bacon is a big one, no added nitrates, but there's always a big asterisk behind it on their packaging. And that means they're using celery powder or spinach juice or some other naturally occurring form of sodium nitrate. When you look at the European hams, the Serranos out of Spain and the prosciuttos out of Italy, they traditionally use Mediterranean sea salt. They don't have to put nitrite on their label because it's naturally occurring in Mediterranean sea salt. The big issue there is it's not an exact amount. As Sam mentioned, with salt mines doing different, levels or quantities of sodium nitrate coming out of the mines, it's the same with Mediterranean sea salt. So you don't exactly know how much you're getting coming from a European ham, where, with our absolute exact ounce amount per 100-pound weight of ham, we know exactly what's going into it. We know exactly what you're getting on the other side of it. So, if you get a truly uncured, no added nitrate, you're basically eating salt pork. That's not a cured meat in any way, shape, or form. So I think, the key really is education. Make sure you're reading the label. Make sure you're seeing what's going on. If you see an asterisk on a no added nitrate, yeah, they're using something. And it is. It's when it's the human body's own first defense against against bacteria being in our saliva, it can't be that bad for you.
One other proof that, I don't want to say proof, everything in moderation. My grandmother lived to 100 years old. Pretty close to every day for many, many, many years, she had ham, bacon, or sausage on the plate for breakfast, and certainly didn't stunt her life in time. So there's one little example of how, and she would always say that too. Moderation is the key. Just she survived it all.
Got a cured meat question? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.